All right, just about 6:30 on the dot. Good Saturday evening, everyone. You guessed it. It's Fox 19 now, First Alert meteorologist Brad Moussard. And as advertised, this is going to be the more maybe interactive version of the stream this evening, and I'm keeping track of where everybody's coming in from, so I appreciate it. I'm going to start reading off some spots. I figured maybe I'd take the jacket off, loosen it up a bit for 6:30 if we're going to be diving into the comments section, because you never know what you're going to get. Lebanon, Ohio, we got Jennifer from Lebanon here. We got Farah in Batavia. Neil checking in from Milan. Oh, yes, there's no such bad thing here in television either. Neil out there at a healthcare facility, so I get it. Thank you for being there this evening. Luckily, it's not too bad tonight, but tomorrow might be a different story out there. Brenda coming in from Amelia. Sorry, I'm also keeping track of like 3 different comment sections because we're streaming this all over the place, right? So bear with me. I will try to catch up with all the questions as we're working our way on through. If you have any that I don't get to, and I promise you I probably get to most of them when it comes to totals and timing and all that. I think the biggest thing we're going to have to worry about is impacts, and those impacts are going to be long-lasting with this system. I know it's not that bad out there right now. That's expected. Tomorrow is going to be the big day for us here in Cincinnati. Let's see what else we got going on. Chelsea and Bethel. Aunt Sandy tuning in as well. Out in Guilford, what do we got? Mary in Dover. We got Matt in Lawrenceburg, Hidden Valley area. Taya. In Coleraine, we got Marcy in Mount Healthy. Debbie in Walton. Sonia tuning in from Wilmington, Owensville. We got Alicia there. We got Shelly in Sunman. Florence. We got Kylie. Aaron over in Trenton. We got Dan and Amy in Covington. Kathy in Batavia. Karen and Amelia. They're just coming in. I'm just going to say these as fast as I can. Debbie over in West Harrison. Well, Barbara, when it comes to severe weather, yes, it's when the jackets come off in severe weather, that's when you know it's about to go down. Now, when it comes to a winter storm, when I put that jacket back on, you know it's about to go down. That's when things start going downhill with the winter weather department. Won't be putting that back on for tomorrow. Anna in Hebron. We got Caitlin there in Boone. We got Williamsburg. Marcus coming in there in Marcus. And then Jenny as well in Guilford, my hometown. Jenny, Blanchester, and Joyce. Joyce in Blanchester, not Blanchester and Joyce. Joyce is in Blanchester. That makes more sense. Mary in Bridgetown. Oh, boy, you guys are... Man, the whole 6:30 stream is just going to be me reading off people's locations. Susan in Peebles. Sierra over in Wilmington, Rose in Florence, thanks for tuning in. Sharon in Cincinnati, Robert down in California, Kentucky. Rose in Florence, let's see, Shay in the west side there, yeah. I could do this all night. I apologize to those who are now just quickly typing in their spots out there. I'm going to get to some actual weather here. I just want to point out here on the screen behind me, I'm waiting for a car to come by again over here in the top, the center of your screen. But we do have, it's a very fine, if you've been out and about looking at it, this is a very fine, like powdery snow, right? It's almost like a light sand or just like almost like really, it's just a fine powder. But you can see as these cars drive through here, some of that on the roadways. Some roadways looked like that earlier today, but that was all salt. So the snow has started to fall. As you can see, traffic, though, still moving, but watch out on surfaces like this. The interstates still look okay, but the bridges, the overpasses, those side streets, they're going to start to get slick here the next few hours. I know we keep doing these hits, these streams, let's say, every 30 minutes, right, between TV and on the streaming center and all that kind of stuff. Snowstorms are like slow motion train wrecks, right? It takes a while for things to get interesting. So we're starting as this is just getting underway. There's not a ton to add that's new. The forecast hasn't dramatically changed. But that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on as we work our way through this evening, because we could see on the ground before midnight, at midnight, 1 to 3 inches, which in any other snowstorm is, enough to be a problem outside. In a few spots and cause the slowdowns. But that's just the start. Things are going to get worse rather quickly after midnight tonight. So if you're going to bed and you're looking at this and you're like, the cars are driving fine, it's no big problem. Just wait. It's going to change very quickly for tomorrow. So if you're waiting off until tomorrow morning to make a call on some Sunday plans, it's going to be dicey. We're not recommending travel, right? I don't sit here and tell people to stay at home, because I like or enjoy that. I tell people to stay home when there's going to be some serious issues, and we will have some serious issues outside for the second half of the weekend. Let's go ahead and roll to this, and you'll see you've seen this before, right? I had this on the stream a few earlier today. We bumped up the totals a little bit earlier today. The model data just continues to come in really, really heavy, right? I'm telling you, it's even heavier than what I've put in the forecast. That's why we say 10 to 16. A few isolated higher amounts are possible, right? We could see some isolated lower amounts, but that's going to be in our southernmost communities. That's where a little bit of sleet, a little warm nose of air aloft is going to change that precipitation from this powdery snow to a little bit of sleet. Those are little ice pellets. So it melts aloft as it comes through that warm layer and refreezes as a little ice ball rather than falling as a nice fluffy snowflake if it was cold all the way through the atmosphere. That's going to limit some of the totals a little bit in our southernmost communities, but it's such a small amount of the tri-state as a whole. Most of us are going to see a 10 to 16 inch swath. Coming up, I'm going to tell you who has the best chances to see the higher amounts. I'll probably show you the models again, and we'll show you how I come to that amount and how we as a team come to this, what we're seeing in terms of all the models, right? All that raw model data, and then it's put into the forecast. We'll show you that too. Sorry, I know there's a lot of people still talking. I got distracted because everybody was telling me where they live, and I appreciate that. Gives me an idea of who's tuning in and where from, and that's always exciting. I'm not going to read them all off this time. I'm kind of speed reading through here because I do at some point have to talk about the weather or I'm going to lose everybody. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We got all 3 states well represented out there this evening on the stream. Got a couple reports out there coming in. Snow in Ripley, Ohio coming down. Roads starting to get covered over there. And that's a possibility the next few hours. Forest Park, we got Michael, not the first comment this time. Mount Washington, what else we got going on down here? Walnut Hills, a little bit of everything. Fort Thomas, the porch and the pathway, snow covering. Yeah, it's just a very fine powder. It's a very interesting snow for us because we don't typically see any snowfall, when it's in the teens here. This reminds me of the snow when I used to live up in Alaska. It was it's such a fine powder that it's really hard to get traction in often. And what they do up there is that this is by the way, if you're a road crew person tuning in tonight, somebody who works on the roads, and your primary tool is sand, I just have to give you a heads up because, again, we don't deal with this kind of a texture of snow all that often where it's this really fine, powdery snow. And when it starts getting a little bit deeper, the road crews, in some spots, I know they used to do it. I'm not sure if they still do it down in southeast Indiana for the county crews or not. I'm not sure. But if you're still using sand for your primary use of traction instead of dumping salt out of the back, just be careful with that tonight. I'm sure you're probably aware. In case you're not, sand in this particular texture of snow makes it almost worse. It almost makes it you're just adding more of the same to the roads. It doesn't give you much traction in this particular texture of snow. So, yeah, snow's come, it's very light right now. We do expect that intensity to really pick up again as we work away past midnight tonight. And that's eventually how we're going to get to, at some spots, about 5 to 9 inches of snow on the ground by the time you're waking up and heading out the door tomorrow morning. How about an unrelated snow note? Is everybody tired of talking about snow yet? No? We will be by the end of this. So one thing here, let's see. A little unrelated note. Weather number of the day is 10. Today, a little something to celebrate here on the eve of a big snowstorm. 10 was our final day. Finest. It was not our finest. It was our final day with 10 hours, or less than 10 hours, rather, of daylight. We had 9 hours, 58 minutes, and 58 seconds of daylight today. Tomorrow, we are over the 10-hour mark. By February 21st, we'll be over 11 hours of daylight, and by March the 17th, we'll be over 12 hours of daylight. And just a few days after that, on March the 20th, or 21st, I think it's the 20th, March the 20th, whatever 55 days is from now. 55 days, because I'm counting, is the first day of spring. So we're getting there, we're getting more daylight, but we have to get through what's left of winter first. Somebody, Misty, commenting in Dillsboro, where there's almost nothing on the ground. Stay tuned, Misty. She's asking if we're going to get anything at all. This is just the start. I just need everybody to just be a little bit more patient today, because it's going to happen, right? It has started in Cincinnati. If you look over my shoulder here, you can see on the road behind me as this car goes by, a little bit of that snow on the road there. It's not, I wouldn't say the roads are covered, but there's some light snow around. I wouldn't say it's even slippery yet, but that's going to be a problem through the night tonight. There's a look right now at the camera downtown, the wider view, and you can see that we have a view of downtown again, so that snow shower that was rolling through has calmed down for the time being. And our dew point is now up to 3. Dew point, if you were watching earlier, is a measure of moisture in the air. The lower that number is, the drier it is. Whereas in the summertime, we talk about the corn sweats. It gets up into the 70s and 80s. We had some 80-degree dew points back in July and August of last year. It was miserable outside. 3, you're going to get chapped lips before you know what happened. You walk outside. Very, very chilly. And earlier, we had a dew point well below 0. So we're making progress. That dry air, that snow falls, runs into that pocket of dry air at the surface, and it kind of evaporates or sublimates before it gets through and gets down to the ground level. Now, that's not going to stay that way for long. Again, we're already jumping up. It's almost, what? More than a 10-degree jump now in the last couple of hours. So, yeah, it's not going to be long before the snow is really widespread. I mean, it's already out there. We're already seeing it dusting in a few spots, but the intensity is really going to pick up through this evening and through the overnight especially. Temperatures, again, not often we see a snow here in the Ohio Valley when temperatures are in the teens. Usually it has to warm up into the 20s and 30s to get more moisture here. But this is such a rare occurrence where we have an Arctic air mass diving in from the north. At the same time, a big low-pressure system is pulling a lot of Gulf moisture in, and they're just clashing right over the Ohio Valley. So it is a big snowstorm. Last time we've seen something probably that's going to be as significant as this was back in 1998. And that's the all-time record holder for a one-day event here in Cincinnati at 11.8 inches. There is a chance, based on current model data, that that could be a possibility. So that's something we're keeping an eye on. Here go the hourly precip chances, again, ramping up through the overnight. Widespread snow by midnight tonight, about 1 to 3 inches. That's not the high-impact portion of the storm, right? That's just to get started, 1 to 3 on the ground by midnight tonight. By the time we hit the early overnight hours, midnight to 6, look how quickly it jumps up. Let me make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. Hold, please. 5 to 9 on the ground by tomorrow morning. So we're already big travel problems when 5 to 9, and then we're going to keep on going through the rest of Sunday. And that, all day Sunday, starting off just after midnight, running in all the way through the day Sunday, we could see 10 to 16 inches. It doesn't really matter if you see 10, you see 16, or an isolated higher amount. That's all the same impact, and that is you probably being stuck at home. Despite road crews' best efforts, as we were talking about earlier, salt doesn't work after you drop below the 15-degree mark. It just doesn't, and we are going to be there almost all day tomorrow, and we'll certainly be there most of next week. So it's going to be really tough to get these slick spots cleaned up, get some of the snow off the road, so that's going to linger and be a problem into Monday and Tuesday of next week. On top of that, just bitter cold anyway, right? Here's what we're dealing with right now. That's a live look at the radar in motion, and you can see some of the breaks in the snow out there, some lighter snow, some darker snow. Darker colors here on the screen, I should say heavier snow or lighter snow. The darker colors there, the darker blue, is the more intense snow bands that are drifting on through. Again, this is just the start. We have a lot of storm to get through. We're getting started. It'll continue all day tomorrow. Off to the west, again, some more intense bands of snow starting to cross the 64 corridor down there between Louisville and Evansville, and that's sliding this way. So I do anticipate we're going to start to see some slick spots popping up from that. Winter storm warning in place that was going into effect earlier today. It runs through Monday at noon and it impacts, just in our particular area, National Weather Service here in Wilmington, over 5 million people. We then, next week, after we get done with the snow, Sunday night to Monday, we go to the cold portion of the storm, which is, they put out an extreme cold watch. What does that mean? Extreme cold for this area defined as 10 to 20 below in the wind chill department or colder. And that's what we'll have to deal with Monday and Tuesday. So that expires Tuesday at noon, but we have a really cold stretch ahead really through much of this week ahead. Let's zoom out here and give you a little better look at what's going on here across the region. There is some drier air off to the south of us, but that's south of Lexington. For us, it's a solid shield of precipitation, wintry precipitation, now into western Pennsylvania, and that stretches all the way back into Texas. What I'm going to say here is that the snow out in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, that is what we have to get through tomorrow. We'll have some of this through the overnight, moderate to heavy snow at times, but look how dark the blue is out here compared to what we're seeing here on the front end. Again, it's very light snow now. That is very, very intense snowfall off to the west. Just underneath that purple shaded area is sleet, and that could, with a little warm nose tomorrow, try to sneak into our southernmost communities. It can limit the totals a little bit there. Impacts still the same. It doesn't matter if you see the sleet or the snow, right? I know everybody wants to see the big snow totals, but even if you don't see those bigger snow totals in our southernmost communities or across Kentucky, it's still going to have a high impact on travel. Let's dive in here and see what we got going on in the comments section. Hopefully everybody Tim was asking about the sleet, so I'm going to get to that in just a second. Again, most of these questions that generally roll in, I will probably get to. You just have to stay with me for a second because I'm going to go on tangents, and who knows what will happen. Let's see. Yeah, sleet stays away. Yeah. So you want the big snows. Again, I think you'll be okay where you're at. CT tuning in from Lynchburg. What else we got? Nobody wants ice. Yeah, so there's a difference between sleet, which is that purple shade, and the pink here, which is that salmon color. That's the freezing rain. You definitely don't want that. That falls as liquid, freezes instantly, and that's what gives out the power outages. Luckily, that is staying off to our south. We won't have any of that. Can I have a lousy low? Yeah, this lousy low is going to be what's causing everything, right? We have a big high. Stay with me. I've used the computer before, I promise. There's a big high up here to the northwest, right? Generally a happy high. It's behind the banner, kind of, right? We have a pair of lousy lows, and what these are going to do here as they drift on through is they're going to pull up all the moisture. That's going to clash with that colder Arctic air, which is already in place here across the tri-state, and where they meet is where you get some really intense snow, and unfortunately for us, it's meeting right over the Ohio Valley. So that's kind of the setup we've been talking about. Tuning in from Greenville, Eastgate, Amelia. Yep, we're going to talk about totals here in a second. Brad, other Brad, great name. Let's see. How far do you anticipate the sleet going? I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. Stay tuned. Mount Orab totals. We'll talk about the totals coming up in a second as well. Yeah, a lot of this questions so far coming in about precipitation type. Shannon here saying in Coleraine, dusting of snow already on the ground. Let me check the other comments, make sure we don't have any other good questions I'm covering up here. Everything else, let's see. App is showing light blue but not getting snow. So it could still be that the air's a little dry at the surface where you're at, but it could fill in, right? And I do anticipate that to continue as the moisture continues to flood in for tomorrow. So let's hop to it. We'll get to it, and we'll zoom back in here, show you again what we're dealing with across the area. Just the start of a major winter storm that's going to be impacting much of the country. I looked at the warning yesterday, that winter weather warning. That is confirmed going back to at least 2005, the most area, the footprint, right, of the winter storm warning. Biggest footprint we've ever seen for a winter storm warning, and it's impacting likely the most people at one time under a winter storm warning, going back to at least 2005. That's just where the data goes. It might not be the biggest all time, but it's probably up there from everything I've looked at. Here we go through the weather timeline, and this is going to show some sleet too, but for right now it's all snow. Snowfall intensity will pick up late this evening after 1, 2, 3 o'clock. So I do anticipate roads to be covered through the early overnight into tomorrow morning, and we could have 5 to 9 inches on the ground by the time we hit about 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow. Off to the south, the salmon shaded area, that is the sleet we were talking about earlier. In this particular color table, it shows up as like a wintry mix in the pink shade for everything, for both sleet and freezing rain. So the pink in this is that sleet, and it does try to sneak into our southernmost communities, especially off to the southeast. That's where we could see some little ice pellets. It's not freezing rain, which is the nasty stuff. You don't want that. But it is some ice pellets, and it could limit some of the totals. Now, if that pushes a little bit farther north, certainly we could see some impacts, maybe in our southern portions of Boone, Kenton, Campbell counties, Claremont County, Brown County, or Highland County. But for right now, most of the forecast still keeps a lot of that well off to the south. It then transitions back over to snow on Sunday. What you don't see here is a lot of breaks until we hit Sunday night. I mean, it's snow from here on out. It might be light at times, but it could also be very intense at times. That's where we're talking about in terms of any areas for sleet. And I'll show you the map, too, that highlights that just a little bit more. Through Monday, we are dry back out, but it's going to be very, very cold next week and very hard to get rid of a lot of this wintry precipitation because of just how cold it's going to be, right? Not getting anywhere close to the freezing point the next 10 days. The only time we get close is Tuesday, February the 3rd. That is not this coming Tuesday. That's another Tuesday away. And we hit 31. That's what I have for the temperature on Tuesday, the 3rd of February. Very chilly. The groundhog will be very cold and upset, I hope, because nobody likes the groundhog. Don't get me started. Groundhog Day is what? Probably the 2nd. So we'll see if he sees the shadow. And even if he does, he'll probably say he didn't because he lies. All right. And we're back. Told you we'd go on tangents tonight. Let's see. Here's what to expect by what time. By midnight tonight, not a ton of snow. Do not go to bed tonight at 11 and say, they were wrong again. You're going to look outside. You're going to say, well, this has been a disappointment. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning to about 5 to 9 inches of snow on the ground. A lot of this is arriving while you'll be sleeping, and then it continues through the rest of the day tomorrow. The only thing that will squash any of these totals, and it's not going to be for everybody, will be some of the areas, especially southeast of town, that see a little bit of sleet. That'll compact the snow a little bit more. It'll lead to slightly less totals. But the impacts, regardless of sleet, no sleet, 10 inches or 16 inches, it doesn't matter. You're all going to have a really hard time getting out tomorrow, which we don't recommend. Let the road crews do their job. Here's a map because somebody was asking for that, so here we go. I'm going to make this a little bigger so everybody can see what's going on because I'm very nice. There we go. I do anticipate in that kind of bluish, grayish shaded area right across the heart of the tri-state, 13 to 16 inches of snowfall, right? If you want the sleet and not so much snowfall, hopefully you're in our southernmost communities, or especially southeast of town. That is where we have the highest chances to see the little ice pellets, which could limit the totals. Otherwise, the only other chance is going where there's slightly drier air, well up to the northwest of town. And that's where we drop to a modest 10 inches. That's it, right? It's 10 to 16. Generally, higher amounts close to the freezing line or where that freezing precipitation, mix tries to happen. Right above that is where we typically have the highest totals. Now, what I'm also going to add, for those of you who are still tuned in here, and I haven't put to sleep completely here on this Saturday evening, here at 6:53, what I will also add is that there's an exciting chance tomorrow, not only to see these insane totals, which doesn't happen here in the Ohio Valley all that often, but you also run the chance to see some thunder snow tomorrow. That will be a possibility if we get some more intense bands of snow to drift on through. If you're unfamiliar, thunder snow is like the winter equivalent of a thunderstorm, right? It's thunder and lightning. There's enough friction and ice aloft up there to get some friction going, some static built up, and some lightning is a possibility with some of these more intense downpours of snow that drift in tomorrow. So, if you hear a rumble of thunder, you're wondering what's going on, that will be what has happened. Or if you see a bright flash while the snow is rolling through tomorrow afternoon, that's what happens. It's lightning and thunder. We call it thunder, it's thunder snow, and it's really exciting. A lot of people like that. But yeah, this is a ton of snow. I personally feel uncomfortable putting 10 to 16 inches into a forecast because when I was in Alaska, I never put that much on a forecast, even in Alaska, but that was Anchorage, so it's a little different. But either way, just a bunch of snow, and hopefully you guys have all your weird measuring tools out and ready to go for today, tomorrow. I'm very excited to see what you have all come up with and your creativity, because I will be stuck at work again, maybe stuck here for a while if we do get that 16 inches, and I will try to have as much fun with it as possible, because who does not want to try to do that? We'll have a little fun on a Sunday. Sleet caused us to lose electricity. That's a good question, Sabrina. There are two different other frozen precipitation types, right? They're both usually called ice, but there is a big difference. So the first of which we call, sleet. Those are little ice pellets. They don't stick to anything as they're falling down. They just kind of bounce around. They make a little bit of noise. If you're outside, you can hear it, something like that. That was a really terrible sound effect. Anyway, they're little ice pellets. They accumulate, they can get heavy, but it's usually on the ground. It can certainly make things slick. It can press the snow a little bit and make it a little hard to shovel. Otherwise, they're not a huge threat for the most part, right? compared to freezing rain. So the first thing I told you about sleet. Sleet is ice pellets. Something floating around in here. Freezing rain, on the other hand, is nasty. You do not want to be in the freezing rain. Freezing rain falls as a liquid all the way through, but when it hits a very cold surface like what we have outside, like a bridge or an overpass that's been below freezing, it will freeze on contact. So it's a liquid, it hits as rain and then freezes. And it does the same thing to power lines, tree branches. You can get that radial kind of, ice accumulation. And in some spots off to the south, and I'm talking down between the Carolinas and all the way to Texas, so a little bit further in the Mid-South, that's where they're expecting the ice from this. You do not want that sort of ice, because that causes the power outages, causes limbs to fall off trees. That is not a threat for us in the tri-state. We could see some sleet, which is like a sprinkles on a donut compared to just a glazed donut. It's whatever. There's a lot of weird analogies we can go with that, but hopefully that explains it a little bit better. The most snowfall, somebody's asking, comes between midnight. What did I have written down here? The worst of it's between 1 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Sunday. It's a wide window. I mean, this is going to be a lot of snow anyway, but that's where we're going to see those more intense snowfall bands rolling through. 1 a.m., so just after midnight tonight, all the way through 4 p.m. on Sunday, and then things will lighten up from there. Let's see what else we got coming through here on these questions. Tuning in from Northern Kentucky, Teresa's excited about the thunder snow chances. Yes, that's a possibility. There's a dusting and rising sun. I got a dusting back here on the road behind me as well, leading into downtown, but I wouldn't say the roads are slippery per se, at least in most spots just yet. Owensville, you might have heard in Owensville some thunder snow. I don't know if we had... It's not impossible, but I would have probably got a notification if we did have some. You might have just heard a different boom. Let's see. It quit snowing in Independence. Don't worry, I'm sure it'll pick up soon. Batesville looking very snowy. Matthew chiming in there. Thanks for the report. Myra asking, so in areas on this map where the sleet is, right, or possible, down currently in our southernmost communities, we'll continue to keep a close eye on that because these warm noses sometimes are difficult to get a hold of. And figure out what's going on. We know a lot about stuff at the surface. Sometimes it's hard to know what's going on aloft without weather balloons and other stuff like that. So with that, asking, I just lost it. Where'd it go? So the areas with the sleet, the totals are still going to be high, just not 16 inches. Yeah, I mean, you could still see 6, 9, 10 inches of snow, somewhere in there, right? You can still see hefty snow totals. It just gets compressed a little bit when that sleet falls on the snow. It's like putting a weight on it. The impacts are still the same. You're not gonna have a great time trying to drive in it. It becomes a little bit harder to shovel, especially if it falls and then compresses itself and then becomes kind of like a layer of concrete on top of the snow. That's never fun because then you have to take the snow shovel out and kind of just crack and beat up that layer of ice, and then then you have to get to the snow that way. So that's not fun. Let's see. Would you recommend staying home and avoiding driving from Price Hill to CVG? Is this tomorrow, Tim? Tim's asking about that. I'm assuming he has a flight either late tonight or tomorrow. If it's tonight and your flight's still going on, I don't think you're going to have many huge problems with the roads. We'll have some slick spots, but it's not going to be impassable tonight. Tomorrow could be a little bit worse. And you will have to keep checking to make sure that your flight's even still going on. I mean, you're going to have a hard time hitting the road tomorrow morning with 5 to 9 on the ground. Mike asking about roads for Sunday night for the night shifters. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a mess. And it's not even going to be the road crew's fault. There's only so much you can do when the salt doesn't work at the temperature we're going to be at. So that could be a problem. We'll have, if you're comfortable driving on snow, I don't know, we'll see. But, 10 inches of snow, 16, that's a lot. It's going to be a real struggle. Even if they're clearing off. I mean, most of the things they're going to be hitting are going to be the major roads. If you're on a side street or you're far away from a major road, you're going to have a little bit more of an issue. When was the last time VV got 16 inches of snow? Well, I'll tell you the record at the International Airport, not too far away from VV, for an all-time one-day event is just 11 inches, 11.8 inches back in 1998. There's not been a time, well, two-day total, the two-day record's like 18-something inches. I think that was also 98. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to look it up off the top of my head, but it doesn't happen often here. We just don't get really big 1 or 2 day snowfalls all that often. It's usually very sporadic. It's pretty rare for us. Tuning in from St. Martin, Fayetteville. Yeah, Tim, if you're working the early shift over at CVG tomorrow, it's going to be very dicey. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't control people and how they try to get to work. I mean, I technically am working tomorrow. It's still going to be a struggle for me to get back over here. And then you're going to have to, if you're coming from the Ohio side and you have to drive up the cut in the hill, that's going to be a mess. Yeah, sleet in Mount Orb, it's not impossible. We'll have to keep an eye on that sleet line. There's a chance we don't see a whole lot of sleet here at all in Cincinnati. There's a chance that slides up a little bit closer to downtown, but I'm still thinking around downtown and north. I mean, it's still going to be very, very heavy snow. Four-wheel drive, again, I'm not recommending anybody gets on the road tomorrow, and just in general, you can do whatever you want because, I'm just a guy with a meteorology degree and, yeah. I just don't think, the Amazon Air Hub is closed, so that's where you're working. If you're just at the airport doing something else, I don't know what their plan is for tomorrow. But you're going to have to play that by ear because you don't want to try driving over there and halfway over they decide to close. Oh, somebody's going with a Forte? No. Oh, no. Yeah, Keaton, I think, is telling you a lot of truth there, saying that I probably wouldn't drive in 10 inches of snow or even 6 inches of snow with a Forte. Let's see, sleeting and dent. Interesting. Keeping an eye on that. Nothing in Mount Orab right now. Snowing in Hamilton. So it's a little sporadic right now. I think things fill in and kind of get a little worse again as we work way, or not a little, a lot worse as we work way through the overnight. Don't forget to download our First Alert weather app. Great app to have. You can always get videos like this. You can watch this sort of a stream on there. You can watch our recorded videos, hour by hour forecasts, the 10-day, everything. It's on there, right? All the old weather stories. You can catch up with that, and it's free, right? It's updated by us. Really great app to have. Here's what we're looking forward to or not looking forward to next week, and that is the cold. We barely got to that blue line here up at the top, this blue line that kind of runs through here. I just put a generic little 32-degree mark for much of the week ahead, which is why we are going to have some issues when it comes to getting rid of this snow. So what does fall is going to be here for a while. I don't know why. Hopefully this isn't a problem on your end, but I keep seeing the stream going down on my end. I'm keeping an eye on that. It looks like it just seems to be impacting the Facebook stream for Fox 19, so maybe that's a problem. It shouldn't be, but we'll keep an eye on that. So keeping an eye on that. Apologies in advance. It might be because I'm running over a half-hour mark. It keeps popping in and out, so sorry about that. We'll try to wrap this up then pretty quick. Don't forget, you can follow me anytime on Facebook, social media there. Facebook's probably the best place to try to get a hold of me. It's meteorologist Brad Moushart, real close to 24,000 gluttons for punishment when it comes to really bad jokes and really bad forecasts, it turns out. Meteorologist Brad Moushart there. It is Brad with 3 A's and a D, weather there on Twitter, and then Call Me Brad on Instagram. You will probably see videos of me attempting to use my new electric snow shovel, of which, since I got that for Christmas, this snowstorm is all my fault. That'll be on Instagram, other things on there too. If I ever get around to editing photos, again, I will get on there. What else we got? Is that it? All right, let's see if we got any more questions, and then we're going to kind of wrap this up. Yes, it went down, but is it back up now? All right, I think it's a little bit more stable now. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It was just this one, because everything else looked like it was fine. All right. Okay, all right, so with no new real questions coming in, I'm going to go back to the snow map again and just kind of give you an idea of timing on when you're going to see what. By midnight tonight, again, not a ton of snow. Don't be disappointed if you're a snow lover and you're saying, oh, come on, they promised double digits and we only got 1 inch. Because it will pick up very quickly through the overnight, and by the time you wake up at 6 a.m. and the sun is shining, actually, you know what? I don't even know if the sun's shining at 6. I don't think it even comes up till after 7. By the time the sun's not even shining, still at 6 a.m., we'll have 5 to 9 inches on the ground. I know that seems incredible. It seems incredible to me. But that's what all the models have, right? So here, I'm going to jump around real quick, and then we'll wrap it up and have a, I don't know what the brand is. I got it as a Christmas present. Somebody's asking me what brand of electric snow shovel I got. I don't know. Sonasow or something like that. I don't know. It's an off-brand snow shovel, but it's battery powered. It uses batteries kind of like electric drills and everything else would use. So it's got those lithium batteries. But I don't know. I'm excited to try it because shoveling is going to be a pain with this. I would give you a link if I had one. I don't. Let's see. Let's hop down to this model and we'll see what's coming in. In terms of snowfall totals, this is how quickly things pick up tomorrow. So again, this takes us to 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. I mean, we go from absolutely nothing, which is kind of where we're at right now, right? Just a little dusting outside. Very quickly by 1 o'clock in the morning, over 2 inches, and then very quickly by the time you're rolling out of bed, if you're sleeping in, the potential for double digits. And then we keep going from there. I mean, I can't rule out the higher totals. I think if we get some really good banding to happen with this snowstorm, we could get some really high totals. I mean, that one takes us to about 15 downtown. That would be insane. That's just absolutely insane, with isolated higher amounts kind of mixed in there. This is the European model. This is more of a long-range model. Again, kind of outrunning the numbers there, but that one, again, takes it over the top. So this is why, these are all the raw models that come in. These are not forecasts. These are all just the raw models. I just wanted to show you the timing. Right, 11 o'clock tonight, everybody's still under an inch. Don't be disappointed. That's 4 hours from now. 4 hours from now, and we're still under 1 inch of snow. But look how it picks up very quickly through the overnight. By 1 a.m., just 2 hours after that, it's 2 inches. That's about an inch of snow an hour. And then we continue right on through the overnight, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. So there's that forecast at 6 where we could see 5 to 9 inches of snow. Some spots maybe a little less, some spots a little more, but generally 5 to 9 inches. And then by the time we hit the later evening hours, this one overdoes it. I really do think this one's overdoing it quite a bit. Don't pay too much attention to this. But it gives you hope that, maybe even at 10 to 16, it's still a pretty good bet that that's going to happen. I don't think we see if we see 20 inches of snow, I'll go crazy. And I'll need a bigger snow shovel. Here's another model. Again, these are all just, they're running the same thing. They're all just telling you what the snow is. That one, again, I think overcooks it. It's insane. I wish that was centimeters. That's showing up in inches. And then this one, I think, is one that likes to get a little bit more sleet down there to the south. I don't hate this idea in this one, except for the numbers overall. I think they're way too high. But let's say this one. By 3, 4 o'clock, you can see down to the southeast, this is where that sleet is expected to push in. And you can see how it drops off pretty sharply down there. That's where the totals could be impacted. But not a lot. I mean, if you get 8 inches of snow and a little bit of sleet mixed in, are you going to be disappointed if you're a snow lover? I mean, it's still quite a bit of snow. No, you might not see the 10 to 16. The rest of us will, but that's still a lot of snow. All right, so we'll see what happens. Most of this storm is going to happen tomorrow. Just know that. It's 7 o'clock. We're just getting started. You're looking outside and you're like, not doing anything. I promise you it will. You got to be patient with me. I too am like, come on, cover up some roadways or something. But, it's just going to take it a little while for this to build in. I don't see any more new questions. Darren is still complaining about the snow. You're going to get dumped on, Darren. It's going to happen. Let's see what else we got here. Weather you don't like, blame Brad. Well, see, that's the thing. If you don't like the weather, I'm going to take the blame and the credit because I'll take it down. It can't just go one way. You can't just blame me for all the bad. You could, I guess. I am Bad News Brad. But, I'm going to take the credit from here on out, too. What else we got going on? Not a whole lot out there. I think I've probably lost and put everybody to sleep at this point. What is it? We're running on about 40 minutes of this stream. It's a lot of talking, it turns out. With that said, thanks to Gatorade Zero, a watered-down Gatorade Zero, for keeping me hydrated. Most of the snow, again, arrives through the overnight hours. Expect a very snowy start to Sunday. You'll see a lot of cancellations and maybe get some calls in the morning. you're trying to get out and make some plans. It's just not probably going to happen for you on Sunday. Please have some indoor plans. Maybe you'll get lucky. Probably won't. I mean, not when I just showed you 5 different models and they all showed you the same exact thing. When that happens and you have models that all kind of just lock in, I mean, who's to say I'm smarter than a supercomputer? I'm not smarter than a lot of things, it turns out. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, Shannon's hoping for 15 inches in Hamilton. It's a lot of shoveling. Let's see, how much around 11:30 do you think in Northern Kentucky? Not a lot, right? This evening, after midnight, that's kind of my general rule of thumb. After try to be where you need to be. You know, hunker down after, midnight. Try to be where you need to be by midnight, because after that, that's where things are really going to start to go downhill pretty quick in the road department. Unfortunately, my boss knows I have snowmobiles come Monday morning. Sorry, Travis. That's why I try not to tell my supervisors that I live semi-close to work, because then I get called in for other things too. Nancy, they're all watching right now, so that's completely ruined. Nancy, do what I do. Yes, bad news, Brad. Hashtag bad news, Brad. How much are we going to get in Fairfield? Yeah, I mean, similar amounts. What we've been saying, about 10 to 16, right? And this, you can see it just brings a really intense band of snow through early tomorrow morning up to the north there. And that's where we get some really quick totals where the bright whitish shades are, and then it all just kind of fills in through the day. I really think this thing overdoes it. I mean, it's dumping 20 inches, so I just don't see that. I just can't fathom it, I think. I just cannot fathom 20 inches of snow. That's insane. That would be about an inch an hour for the next 20 hours. I just don't see it. That's an insane amount of snow through tomorrow. But since we are going to see some intense snowfall at times, I mean, that's why we could see some thunder snow. So with that, let's see where we're at here. I see still some snow back here behind me. I don't see a whole lot falling, but it's such a fine powder. If you're looking out the window and you don't have a light shining or something like that, you might not be seeing this. These are not big flakes. It's like a very fine, I don't know how to describe it, like granulated sugar almost. It's very, very fine outside. So you're going to have a hard time seeing it visually, but eventually it's going to start to build up. Let me see if I can find this camera. Oh, where are we at here? I don't know. And then Anna's going to take over here in about 20 minutes, so I got to get off this thing anyway. So she can have a turn here and here in the streaming center. Let's see, Mount Auburn. You can see some of the snow there on the rooftops and on the parking lot down there in the bottom of the foreground, but you don't see a lot of snow falling, but it's just so fine it's hard to see on the cameras. They're not big flakes. Same with this one. You can kind of see some of that haze over downtown from the Newport camera. We just looked at this one. I don't know why I just clicked on it again. Let's see. Clovernut Country Club, we're not going to see much out there because it's nighttime, but you can see the cart path looks like it's covered now. Turfway. Not going to see anything there, and let's see, unless they turn the lights on for us. That's the camera that's behind me, and you can see that, that path of very powdery snow on the ground. Traffic on the interstate has slowed a little bit since I've been talking here the last 40 minutes. It's still moving, right? But it looks like people are being a little bit more cautious. I don't see people driving as fast, it seems like, on the interstate, and there goes the salt truck down the road. So, if you can tomorrow, just try to hang out inside, even if you think you can make it in your four-wheel drive. You don't have to be on the road tomorrow or get to work or something like that. Please don't get out there on the roads. Let the crews do their jobs. If you get stranded, then your car's in the way and they have to drive around it. It just becomes a pain. So, yeah, Chris, I mean, it's anywhere between 10 to 16. That's the official forecast. I'll pull this up, and that's how we'll kind of end this, this stream here. This is the official forecast. It's the last one we're putting out. I'll make it nice and big, too, so everybody can see what's going on. Let's see, cross-zoom to that. And, yeah, that's the forecast we got going on tomorrow. All the models seem to be coming in even just a little bit higher than this. I'm finding it just unfathomable. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around it, so this is what I'm going for. Just note again, down to the south, even if you do not like sleet or want the little ice pellets, you could see some down here. Right now, that's the best chance to see some of that slide in briefly this afternoon, especially in particular this corner of the tri-state, right? Mason, Robertson, Brown, Adams counties, down over here. But we'll have to keep an eye on it because that warm nose pushes even 20 miles up to the north, a little bit further north. I mean, we could see a little bit of sleet here and inhibit things, but it's still a lot of snow. I mean, it's still like 6 to 9 inches plus that sleet, and that's still going to slow things down. So Wednesday, Jordan, one last question here, then we're going to call it quits so Anna can get in here and get stuff set up. Jordan was asking here if there's a chance for some snow on Wednesday. There is. There is a chance late Wednesday into Thursday. And quite frankly, I don't even want to talk about it yet. I got to get through this first. There is another chance for some snow out there. It doesn't look nearly as this impactful, right? But there is a chance. And Corinth, Kentucky, is there any sleet expected? Yeah, there's a chance, but it's mostly snow for most of us. And yes, it does look like this is going to have. I mean, that's what we've been saying. It's a high impact event for us. We do not see this much snow this often. These are big, big totals, potentially record-breaking totals, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. Anna Duvall's going to be in here. She's going to be handling the 7:30 stream, I'm sure, at some point here just recently. Stephanie had another on-air cut, and I've just been talking too long. So stay tuned. We're going to have another stream if you want to stay there. We'll have that coming up on the Fox 19 Facebook page, on Roku, on all the other digital stuff. Coming up in just minutes. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll be on again over the next several hours through the rest of the event here as the snow continues to worsen through the overnight. Thanks, everybody.